If there's a, oh, do you have it up?
It's on my phone, so.
If you need me to pull up something, just I'll move it over. Let me know.
When I have my glasses, I should be okay.
Okay. It's 1:01 and I'll call today's meeting to order. The town of Rocky Mountain House wishes to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Blackfoot, Cree, Saulteaux, Stoney, and Métis. We have an agenda in front of us. Does anybody have any additions to the agenda? No. Seeing none, just a motion to accept them, please, as presented. Councillor Brown makes that motion to accept agenda. All in favor of that motion? Carried. Laura, I keep watching for your hand to go out.
Oh,
We'll move on to 4.1. We have a delegation from TC Energy, Mr. Preston Sire and Ms. Lisa Dack. Is that correct? Well, welcome. Thanks for taking the time to come to Rocky Mountain House and present to us.
Very much for having us.
Yeah.
So we can turn said microphone on for now. I'm always worried that I'm not doing this stuff correct, so that's always fun.
For me. So there you go. You can scroll through.
Okay.
I'll just get the link. So,
Permit. Yep. So yeah, first off, thank you so much for letting us come up here and do this. Just can't really express how excited we are to get back in the field and be able to do this face to face. During the COVID times, we did hundreds of meetings virtually, as I'm sure you guys did, and they were not near as enjoyable, and it didn't get us out of the office into this beautiful area. So thank you very much for letting us come up. So my name is Preston Sire, as you said correctly, which is also very rare. I want to just say first off, I'll be kind of in our intros here. I'll be doing the first part of the presentation, talking about our project work that we have in the area. You guys are very busy in this area, especially with us, with other projects. We're kind of up here to try and kind of clarify that. You're getting a lot of emails from a lot of different people. So we're going to go over who we are, what we do. Reluctantly, we do need that many people because we have that much going on in the area, but we're just kind of going to go piece by piece on that. So I myself, I'll go through the projects in a bit, but I'm on the project side of things. So when we are looking to do the new projects in the area, I work on a couple of them just to make sure that they're running smoothly, and then talking with you guys and going through the construction phases. And then I'll let Lisa introduce herself.
Sure, thank you. So my name's Lisa Deck. I'm the regional liaison in the Rocky Mountain House area. So unlike like Preston, I don't actively engage on projects, but I focus on pipeline safety and community investments in the areas where we already have operational assets. So I'll be talking a little bit about what's going on in Rocky this time.
That's awesome. And actually, I'm going to go around the table and just have everybody announce or introduce themselves as well. So we'll start over with Councillor Fraser.
Councillor Marion Fraser.
Councillor Randy Brown.
Mayor
Councillor Len Phillips.
Councillor Michelle Narang.
Dean Schwader, I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development. Acting CAO Dean Proust is away this week.
Marina Coolidge, Executive Assistant.
Fantastic.
I'll just point out we also have Rob Shanks in the corner over there. He's our Director of Public Works, and Wes Ament in that corner. And he's Director of Recreation, Parks and Rec.
Got us all surrounded. This is perfect.
And you know Laura Button as well.
Yes,
that's
a
awesome.
lovely chat beforehand. Got our Newfie things all correlated, which is good. So I'll first just start off with I'll echo your land acknowledgement. So we at TC, we also want to acknowledge that this project is located on Treaty 6 territory. And we acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. We recognize the land as an act of reconciliation and respect for the communication whose territory or community, whose territory we live and work on today. We start all of our meetings with a safety moment after the land acknowledgement. This does seem like a lot of information. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through all of it. It is pretty simple. Safe digging month for us was June. We just like to continuously pound that home as much as we can. Please, when you are doing anything, before you dig or any click, call, make those phone calls. It doesn't matter if it's a tree, doesn't matter if it's a fence post. If your kid decides to dig a little bit more intrepid, deeper with his shovel in the front yard, make sure you're making those calls, because accidents do happen. And if you guys do want this infographic, it'll kind of give you through the steps on how best to do that, and maybe passing that off to people as well. And forgive me as I'm going to do the two computer thing. So we went over our team already. We're going to do an overview on TC Energy for you. Apologies if there any of this is stuff you've heard before. We're just going to kind of get it all out there. We're going to go over the projects that are in the area, the construction update, a next steps, so our sustainability, our community involvement, and then our reconciliation action plan. And then we'll do a Q&A. I know we have limited time, so I'll get through this as fast as I can. There's question and answer at the end. If you have any in the interim, please just let me know, though. I will gladly stop, and we can go back to any slide, obviously. So for the people that email you nonstop and send all the updates to this area, so Lisa, as she stated, is the operations community liaison for the area. Myself, I work on the Edson Mainland project, and then the NGTL West Path Delivery 2022 project. Now, I know these naming conventions don't mean a lot to a lot of people. We have a map and we'll show you exactly where everything is. We don't like our naming conventions. They all sound the same, to be honest. Cole Thompson's doing the 2021 NGTL expansion. I'm sure you guys have met him multiple times. And then Josh Pentland is doing the Clearwater C7 unit edition, just finishing up on that, and the Chambers Creek RMS, so receipt meter station there. So getting kind of into us, delivering energy. That's what TC Energy has been doing for a long time. We've been doing this for 65 plus years. The key focuses on why we do that is doing this safely, responsibly, and obviously working in collaboration with communities and maintaining our integrity at the highest level that we can. Our energy network that we have is growing by the day and bigger every year. So you can see we have natural gas, oil, and power generation. And just kind of quickly jumping into the natural gas side of things. The big thing for this is that we produce, or we deliver, about 25% of North America's natural gas now. So we're a very large player in the industry. We're continuing to grow. We have, obviously, you can see our major footprint we have in the Alberta, and then we have a large purchase that we had with Colombia on the east coast of the United States, and then quite a bit in Mexico now. So we're growing a lot, and that's hence the TC Energy name change back in the day. It was to showcase our larger portfolio across North America. Our liquids lines, so we do about 20% of the Western crude and about 2 billion barrels since 2010. And this showcases our liquids assets. As you can see, there is one that is dotted in there. That is the Keystone XL. That is no longer on this portfolio. However, it is on this slide, so apologies for that. I've not got the updated one for that yet. And then we do power and storage. So we actually power more than 4 million homes as well through different initiatives. We also work in the hydro. We have dealings with Bruce Nuclear, and we also do quite a bit of solar as well. So we're diversifying as much as humanly possible, and proud to be doing that. So getting into these projects that we have. So if you look at this map, which is absolutely clustered with a lot of things, so apologies for that, but we will go through it really quickly. If you start at the very top on the red lines, so get this mouse here, this is the 2021 section. Keep in mind, things with the name 2021, 2022, those are the in-service date. So that's the year for when the pipeline will be done construction and actually going through in service. So our dismal section that we have at the very top, that's part of the 2021 expansion. The construction is ongoing. It is going very well. You've been seeing some of that in the area. Next, we move into the Edson Mainland Loop, or the EDML project, the Elk River. That's just to the south. So the naming conventions are here along the left. It's beginning construction. It's just in the RFP phase right now. We've gone through and weighted the RFPs. Now we're looking to award a prime contractor for that. For this specific section, you will see some people in the area, probably more Drayton Valley, and but our contractor yard we haven't identified, but there is a pipe yard for this project that is located in this area, well, located in Rocky Mountain. Then going down to the Brewster, that's part of the 2021. So it's the same as Dismal, same timeline, the construction's going on that. And then moving our way down, you get to Alford, which is part of the EDML one as well. So still sitting in that RFP phase, the pipe for that, and the construction is in the Caroline area as well. And we'll be seeing some traffic and some construction workforces coming in the area. I'll be looking, that's my project, as we're ramping that up, as we get our prime kind of brought on board and we onboard. I'll be coming out here with the prime. We'll be doing some business engagement forums with the community, making sure that we can get local hires and that type of situation once that actually gets awarded. And then farther all the way down, we've got Raven River on the bottom here, which is the West Path Delivery 2022. So that's looking for the year after.
Preston, the Brewster line, is that the one that you see on Highway 11? Pardon me, toward Nordegg? That's the one they're working on right
Yes.
now. That's the Steel River project?
I was just using this mouse on this computer. It doesn't work well. So yes, that is.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify that.
I'm pretty sure. Sorry, this is one of the rare areas where we have to be pretty particular because there's a lot going on in this area. Usually the answer is yes, but for that, I'm
Okay.
pretty confident it is. So like I said, I'm sorry, I know this can add some confusion, but the big piece is that where you start to the north and you work your way down is kind of our timeline with just some pieces going in between. And I'm sure Cole has told you this. The reason we do this is a loop. So these are, instead of building a continuous section, we're just adding in an area that we see a bottleneck of more production required for the area, more gas required for the area. So we meet those demands as our suppliers come online or our customers come online. So we're just meeting those increments over time. So that's kind of the piece to that. Is there any questions on this slide? We can jump back to it for sure, but it's also been really nice for us to see this slide. Most of us work on our own little projects, so it was really good to see it all ourselves. So the next steps is kind of the next slide that we have here. So this just goes on to continuing what we're doing. We're just trying to be committed. Transparency is very, very, very key for what we do, and making sure that we're working on our lessons learned. So if there's anything that someone's done differently, someone's done previously in the past that you would like change, something that we could do better, whether it's traffic management, anything on those plans, we would love to hear that, because how we get better is working with you guys, because you guys are the heartbeat of the community, obviously. So the next piece we get to is our approach to sustainability as a company. So we are committed to the environment. We do very, very, very heavy environmental assessments to make sure that these projects are meeting all the codes and requirements. We're promoting prosperity. So we're making sure we're growing this footprint and growing the community. That gets back to the local engagement we do with the business engagement, the First Nation engagement that we do on their business side too, to make sure that everyone's prospering when we bring these projects in. And then empowering the people. So making sure that we're building a strong ethic within the company when we are doing these, and making sure that anyone that's working on our behalf is producing those values as well. And then let Lisa jump on over to the next one. Oh no, this one's still me, sorry.
I got it. I'm happy to talk
Okay.
about working with communities. So we engage stakeholders early and continue those relationships through to the operations. So we build and operate our pipeline on both public and private lands. We've developed relationships with over 100,000 landowners so that we can mutually coexist along their properties. We recognize that we're a guest, but we're happy to work with them and ensure that we're both operating in the same space. We've had relationships for the last 30 years with First Nations communities potentially impacted by our projects. We see them as rights holders. We see they have a distinct relationship with the land. We have a dedicated Indigenous Relations Department that works with First Nations communities in the early project stages to understand their concerns and to encourage participation into project plans. So we support them through traditional knowledge studies, traditional land and resource studies, monitoring programs during construction, and then the ongoing dialogue that we have during operations to talk about job creations and opportunities to work with their First Nations contractors and suppliers. We also have thousands of meetings with communities, emergency responders, and community groups. As Preston said, we've been doing these virtually for the last almost 2 years. So we're happy to get out and talk to groups. We see that communication as a way of doing better projects, better understanding community need, and building onto this so that we can have better long-term benefits. And lastly, through our community investment program, we give back to the local communities. Perfect. So our community investment program is designed to build to support strong and vibrant communities and build community capacity. So we look to our local workforce to identify initiatives for local organizations that we can support and where we can be involved in the community. Sorry, not quite done there, just checking the numbers. So we prioritize sponsorships of organizations that align with our focus areas, and those are community, safety, environment, and education. So in 2019, we spent or we donate over $28 million to over 2,500 organizations, as well as scholarship recipients. So locally in 2020, we gave scholarships to students that reside in Caroline, Leslieville, and right here in Rocky Mountain House. Some more specific numbers to Rocky. Just let me pull them up here because I can't quite see Preston's screen. I don't want to get any of these wrong. So in the first quarter of 2021, we donated just over $27,000. So this was to the Lord's Food Bank, to Search and Rescue, to the Friendship Center, and to Ecole Rocky. So these are all organizations that are Rocky Mountain House specific. As Preston mentioned, we've got 5 growth projects in Clearwater County. In long-term benefits, we've paid over $32,000 in property tax, and this is just in 2020. And this is for our shop that's located just behind the office on Highway 11 up there. And so within this office, there's 20 employees, and they're responsible for gas handling as well as maintenance on the compressor stations, meter stations, valve sites, as well as an area manager and support staff.
And then just the last slide is just going over our reconciliation action plan, which has become a big part of our initiatives going forward with the company, as it has with the country, I believe. So our RAP, as we call it, which is a reconciliation action plan, we recognize the critical importance of reconciliation with Indigenous. So we're looking to explore the development of an advisory council, expanding our cultural awareness, setting Indigenous targets for contracting, as well as advancing a project equity framework and expanding investment in community-led initiatives. So we've been doing quite a bit with them, but obviously with First Nations that we've worked along with our projects, and we look to do a lot more in the future. And with that, questions, please. And once again, thanks a lot for letting us do it. And then Lisa, the only point that we missed is that the best part of our job is definitely community investment, being able to give money. So that's hands down the best part.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your presence in our community. It's a very positive and welcome part of our town. I do have a question about the Ecole Rocky Elementary. Was that to the playground or was, okay, nice.
Yeah, that was for the playground enhancements. We just made that, I think, in March of this year.
That's great. And I just want to bring to your attention, just recently, the town of Rocky Mountain House has partnered with the 3 First Nation communities west of our town. And we are creating a task force to fight against racism in our municipalities. And so we've just had one meeting so far. And on the task force sits myself as well as Councillor Narang and the chief. Councillor Narang, do you remember? It's the chief and I believe their admin, chief and one council member, and of course our admin. And we will be setting the terms of reference and seeing if there are other people that also need to sit around that table too. So that's a work in progress for us right now, and we've just started that. So wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, thank you. I had spoken with Dean Krause, and he brought it to my attention, and I've pushed it towards our IR team as well. So yeah, the more information we can get on it, anything that we can help out with kind of thing, we'd love to see what options there are. Yeah.
And work
Like us.
together as well.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Councillor Auld?
No questions. It was a great presentation. I just want to say thank you. The community investments you guys have done, it's noted, it's appreciated. It's great. Thanks for being a partner.
Awesome. Does anybody have anything else? Nope. Easy crowd today, huh? You answered everything in your presentation.
You know what?
And of course, we had the presentation beforehand, so we were all able to look at it beforehand as well. So again, thank you for coming out and taking the time, and always willing to be a partner in some projects in our community.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll enjoy the beautiful ride back home now.
Yeah, it's nice to see the blue sky and sun for a change.
We'll be out in Calgary, that won't be there. So.
Oh, well, stay in Rocky for the day. Thanks very much. Safe travels. Okay, so we'll move on to 5.1 to adopt the previous minutes from July the 20th. Everybody take a chance to read those. I just had one question on the minutes and I got to get into it. It's 5.2 and maybe it's not a big deal, but I wanted to just ask. Let me see here. Yeah, it's under 5.2. Should that read community or committee? I could take it either way, but I'm not sure. So for future, because it is a difference. Pump track committee?
Your worship, you're correct. It would be committee as opposed to community.
Okay, because and the reason I was questioning is I didn't know if they've even set a committee yet. So that's why, oh, Mr. Ament. Group, okay, that makes more sense. Okay, great, thank you. So that was the only thing that I had seen on the minutes. So seeing nothing else, Councillor Narang?
Yeah, I was just going to make a motion to accept the minutes with that amendment.
All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Delegation business. Just a motion to accept the TC Energy presentation as information, please. Councillor Auld? Thanks. All in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to 7.1. The First Nations invitation to AUMA conference this fall. I guess that's you, Mr. Schwader.
Sure. So on the June 15th council meeting, there was a resolution by Councilor Narang to investigate the invitation to First Nations for AUMA, which administration has done some investigating, and seems like this would be available or allowed to invite as guests First Nations to the AUMA on behalf of the town of Rocky Mountain House. Financially, it's being covered in 2021 budget, and it seems like it should be available and work for the town of Rocky Mountain House to invite the First Nations.
Okay. Any comments on that? Councillor Auld?
Have we reached out to the First Nations yet to see if they're, like, was that part of the task force when you guys were meeting?
No, we didn't specifically talk about that, but we could explain what it is once we send the invitation out. And I'm not sure, perhaps they even have a conference at that time of year as well, right? So we just don't know that, but I think it's important to start that dialogue with them regarding this. Councillor Brown?
Are they not already aware that this is something we were going to pursue? I thought it was. I thought in our first meeting with them, that was discussed.
Could be.
Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have any other comments on that? Okay. Councillor Fraser?
If there isn't any more discussion, I will make the motion that council invite a representative from Bighorn First Nation, Ochees First Nation, and Sunchild First Nation to the 2021 AUMA conference as guests of the town.
Okay, all clear on that? All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. There we go. Okay, moving on to 8.1, private hydrant maintenance on private property. And I'll turn that over to Mr. Shanks, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just a quick overview on private hydrants. A couple of meetings ago, we were asked to prepare a report on private fire hydrants, who maintains them, and make sure we get the documentation after the fact that it was maintained. We have basically we have three options that we can go with on this. The first one is regulated and enforced through the provincial government, through the fire codes and Safety Codes Act. The regional fire would do the inspections and complete the reports and hand them in when they were completed. The second option would be we would need to amend our water sewer bylaw to make it so we would continue to do the hydrants. The third option is the town, we would send out letters to the property owners, letting them know that it's up to them to maintain them and hand in inspection reports. And the town would get out of them all together. So we're looking for some direction on what you would like to see.
Councillor Narang?
Thank you for this work. It's definitely made it a bit more clear about what we're looking at here. I would just be curious about option 3. Would it be possible, so if we put the onus on the affected property owners to maintain their hydrants, could we not at the time of, say, because they would all have business licenses, right? At the time of renewing the business license, have them submit the report that that has been done for the year? Would that work together or no?
Not all buildings would have, like, say, apartment buildings and that would not have business licenses. So that may not work in regards to that.
Councillor Ald, I think.
Do you know if on their insurance requirements, whether it specifies in there that it needs to be tested, the fire hydrants? Because if it's in their insurance requirements, that they have to have a functioning certified hydrant along with their certified functioning suppression system, would it not make sense just to join the two of them together?
I can't answer that question in regards to insurance, whether they, I would assume they would, but I can't answer it correctly in regards if they're required.
Councillor Phillips?
I mean, I'm leaning more towards option 3 with the onus being on the property owner. The biggest thing with option 3 is we would have to come up with a very good system to track that these are actually being inspected and they're being maintained and having a good report, because if it's not being done properly, then the safety of those residents is at risk. So somehow we would have to come up with some form of reporting system that makes sure they meet all the criteria.
Do we know what standard is? Do we know what other municipalities do?
From what I know, and some don't. So, but on a liability end of it, I would just as soon be out of it. And we still, it still gets inspected on a yearly basis. We still get the, you know, the proper documentation that you were asking for. So.
Councillor Ald?
That goes back to my original why I brought this up, because we want to have it, we want to make sure that it's being done. We want to make sure that the landowners and the business owners know that it has to be done. And if we're not doing it properly, like if we don't have the means to do a proper hydrant test that gives everything that the insurance would require, then we shouldn't be doing it. It should be being sourced out to whoever's doing their sprinkler systems. And we just need to figure out a way of getting a report back. However that yearly report comes in, it could be up for discussion. But if we can't do it properly, then it needs to be done properly by somebody else.
Yes, and I totally agree with that statement. That's basically what we had talked about at when this was first brought up. Mr. Shanks, did you have something?
Yeah, as far as saying that we're not doing it properly, I wouldn't go that far. That was probably my mistake wording it that way. Our guys have taken certified courses to deal with fire hydrants and whatnot, but what we don't do is we don't do pressure tests. We don't use the pitot gauges and see how much water flow is coming out. That's where the specialty guys come in to make sure they have the right amount of water. Yes.
So if we're going to start doing that as a town, when I say we as a town, and charging them for that, then we may as well just have them do whoever they use to do their sprinkler system.
Yes, that's correct.
Councillor Narang?
Just a question about the rest of the hydrants that we're taking care of. Like, do we do those things for those hydrants?
No, we, basically what we do is we flush a hydrant, and that's more to get the old residue of chlorine, whatnot, out of the line. And we still don't get into actual pressure testing our systems, which that's in the future, we'd love to go there, but it's very, very time consuming. I know the fire department took it on quite a few years back. It didn't go anywhere because it was so time consuming.
Councillor Fraser?
So I guess would option one kind of be the halfway between them, that they're still being done by somebody who has knowledge of the fire code and working of the fire, basically the fire hydrant, because they're firefighters? Would that be kind of be the halfway model that we would still be doing it? We would still have control over how it's being done because it's through regional fire?
Yes, that's correct.
But I am hearing that they're not doing, that's not pressure testing, right?
Yeah, the regional fire doesn't get into that depth either. They're kind of the same boat as we are. They want to get there, but they're not there yet.
And it's advisable to do the pressure testing.
Yes, it is.
So Councillor Narang?
But we're not even doing it for the hydrants that we're maintaining. I think we just have a bigger problem here than we started with.
Not really, because if there's a fire hydrant here and it's not working properly, there is another one right here. But if you have an individual with his own fire hydrant, that other hydrant could be 6 blocks away.
Okay, so is it something that we should be working together with the ones that do have the private hydrants? And then we look at having all of the hydrants done at one time, and they're responsible for paying for their hydrant as we would be for paying for our hydrant.
We are looking at doing a water model of the town of Rocky with one of our engineers. Our problem is not so much the pressures in town. We have a really good water treatment plant that puts out some pretty wicked pressures. Our problem is maintenance of those hydrants. I'm not concerned with the pressures of ours. We've had some pretty serious fires in town, and we've been able to supply all the trucks with what they require. Our concern is more so us doing the work, meaning the town, and the town being liable if something were to happen in the future. It could happen. We don't control that.
Right. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I'm just curious by some of the earlier questions. I really would like to know what insurance requirements are for these properties. And I really am curious about how other municipalities deal with this situation. I think knowing that would help us move forward, I think.
Any other comments? So what I've heard then is just finding out what other communities do, and sorry, what was the last one that you said?
Insurance.
Insurance.
What the insurance requirements are on those private hydrants.
As far as the insurance, I can't answer to that, but as far as other communities, they're going to be in the same boat as we are. We didn't find out until this year that really it should be on the property owners to be maintaining their own equipment. So they're going to be no different. This is it's a federal, provincial.
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Rob. I'm just more thinking of reinventing the wheel type situation. If somebody is doing something, has had the foresight to get on board this, then again, why reinvent something if it already exists?
Councillor Narang?
I'm just wondering, at the very least, should we be, if we continue to do the service, should we be charging for it somehow? Like, would that be something that Or is it, I mean, we're providing a service to private industry, then they're not paying for it. So that I think is where I have an issue with, but I guess there is sort of a bit of a reciprocal relationship there. We can tie into it if we need it, but it is a requirement of the private business owner to have those hydrants, and we're maintaining them for free. So I guess that's sort of where my issue is.
Did I see your hand up, Councillor Auld again? No? Okay. So would we be able to get a little bit more information then, Mr. Shanks?
For sure. We'll
Just let's
make
look
some
at-
phone calls and see what the other communities are doing. See if they are different than what we have right now. We did do up a model, what it would look like for charging the private sector if we did go that road as well, but it still doesn't touch the liability end of it.
Okay, well, so the next day is, our next council meeting is August 17th. Is that enough time just to, Mr. Schrader?
I was just going to comment in the report that Rob submitted. The MGA states that service connections at the very beginning, it's the responsibility of the property owner for all service connections. So I'm just going to throw that on the table.
Councillor Phillips?
I think I mentioned this before, but I view the individual private fire hydrants like a fire suppression system inside a restaurant. That is maintained and operated and solely paid for by that individual business. The private fire hydrants would be no different in my mind, that has to be something that the private business pays for. And from a liability point of view, I think if that service is being done, we shouldn't be liable for that because it's a private hydrant. So that's got to be done privately from my point of view.
Councillor Fraser?
I just had a question about the info for the different liabilities in the report, or if was there a legal opinion consulted, or is that kind of just general liability? Because if we're coming back with more info, I think along with insurance requirements, I might want kind of a, maybe not an official legal opinion, but an opinion on where that puts the town legally as far as liability. Option 1 looks like the most and option 3 looks like the least. I'm not sure how much exposure that is legally.
Mr. Shanks, did you have something? No? Okay, so I'm still hearing we're a little bit still undecided. So just a few more questions to be answered. And would that be fair to ask you to bring that back for the August 17th? Is that enough time to? Okay. So just a motion then to have admin bring back more information on liability to the town. Is that?
Yeah, say what other communities do in insurance requirements.
Sure. Okay. Councillor Phillips?
I'll make that motion.
Thanks. Okay, are we all clear on that motion then? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks for doing that. Okay, so we'll move on to 8.2. A bylaw to amend MDP 2020/20 and LUB 2020/19 Lot 1. Mr. Fitzsimmons, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. So we received an application to rezone a parcel in town, Lot 1, Block 38, Plan 1886 HW. The address is 4623 47th Street. Currently it's zoned as core commercial mixed use. They want to redesignate it to medium density residential. Because the municipal development plan also has that lot designated for downtown mixed use, this bylaw, if passed, would redesignate. In the MDP, it would change the designation to downtown transition, and then the land use bylaw would change it to medium density residential. Currently, core commercial mixed use does allow for a variety of commercial uses in town. And then medium density residential does allow for more like a detached dwelling, duplex, but also some limited commercial such as home-based businesses, class 1 and 2. The zoning does match up with the adjacent lots directly south of the subject lot. Those are designated already as medium density residential. And the municipal development plan does have the downtown transition designation does indicate encouraging medium density developments on the lot, but also encouraging some limited commercial use as well. Based on that, we determined that there is planning merit to this application, and we're making a recommendation to give first reading to the bylaw and to set a public hearing date for September 7th at 1 p.m.
Okay, any questions or comments on this? And the notices would go out right away to like the
Yes.
neighbors and whatnot. Okay,
Adjacent landowners.
yep. No, okay, Councillor Fraser, did you have a question?
I guess, is it being used as a residence now? Because I'm not sure about the situation just from what was sent in,
For sure.
but it looks like it's being used as a residence now and they want to sell it so the next person can live in it. Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
that's currently, I believe, it's being used as a locksmith business. I know in the past it was being used as a skate sharpening business years and years ago, but currently, they're in order to make some improvements and sell it as a house. That's why they're applying for the rezoning.
Okay, I have no other questions. We'll just set the public meeting hearing date, so. I'll make that motion to be it resolved that council give first reading of bylaw 2020/10 and set the public hearing date for September 7th, 2021 at 1 p.m. in the town council chambers. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thanks, Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to number 9.1 coal policy committee meeting. And so the coal policy is coming through on August the 16th. And wanting to know if we want to take part in that meeting in the afternoon. I guess the one question I have is, will there be an opportunity for public to be part of this? Do we know?
That I'm unaware of, Mayor Burke.
Okay.
Mr. Kraus didn't inform me about that. So did you want to ask that question when we respond?
Sure. I think if we respond, like, I know I'm free. Is anybody else free to take part? Okay.
But did you want, when we respond back, did you want to ask if there's going to be a public session?
Yes,
when they're in
please.
town?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I think that's prudent that we
Okay.
allow the public to get in here and
Right.
also take part in these conversations.
Okay.
Okay. So just, Councillor Brown, did you have a question?
Just confirmation date again, if we, 16th of August?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, does it say the week? Sorry. Okay.
it says early afternoon on August.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, next sentence.
It's messing with me. I know I read that. Because it's a Monday.
It says they're still working on the schedule though, so it could change, but.
Well, and then hopefully they can, if we request a meeting for public, perhaps they could fit it into the schedule as well.
Yeah, I'm misreading the letter again here. And, they're going to meet with the town and county representatives. And then maybe a phase 2 in regards to the coal policy committee meeting in the future. But
That's
we'll
right.
we'll reach out and just ask if they're consulting with the public when they're in town.
Okay, so I guess just a motion then to send them a correspondence, letting them know that we are available to meet that afternoon and query on the meeting with the public. So who would like to make that motion? Councillor Phillips?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of that motion? Pose, okay, in favor?
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Okay, moving on to 9.2, letter from Clearwater County Regional Solid Waste Services Agreement, liability amendments. Okay, Mr. Schwader?
Yeah, the town received a letter dated, I think it's July 29th.
Yeah.
July 29th in regards to their regional solid waste services agreement. They had a few concerns, I guess, in regards to us moving on to the old transfer site as far as our eco center. And as you can see, you know, you guys have read the letter. I'm not sure what action you guys would like to take in regards to the letter being sent to the town. I would recommend possibly correspondence back to the county.
So we have received this letter stating that we possibly could be in breach, but we have reached out to legal and we indeed aren't in breach. So I believe we should send a letter back to Clearwater County just explaining that we have we are still following through with our move. And the reasons being is that you know, there were many issues brought to light that the eco center in the spot that we chose in early of this year, it's had safety issues. It was going to be expensive to, well, not expensive. It was actually, I got the prices here. It was going to cost, regardless, we have to spend money to fix up either of them. So we would have to spend $98,000 to fix up the eco center where we had placed it in its new location. And then we have to spend $89,000 to do some fencing and whatnot at the old transfer site. So this is why we've chosen the old transfer site to move our eco center to. So if the residents had concerns, the residents really wanted us to consider this and we've listened. So Councillor Fraser, did you have something?
I guess to get a letter on the 29th of July, acting surprised that we're moving back to the transfer site when the plans were for the transfer site. It was discussed at length. That was always the plan. So for them to be surprised at on the Friday before a long weekend is a little frustrating when, you know, this had been worked on at great length.
For me, the bottom line is the residents, safety and convenience, and for the ratepayers. And so this is why we made the decision to do what we've done. And we want to make it as convenient as possible. And we're open to any other suggestions Clearwater County may have. So Councillor Narang.
Maybe this is another opportunity to invite them once again to participate in the eco center if they seem very interested in it. And to maybe in our letter highlight the difference between the transfer station and the eco center and explain to them the benefits of participating if they're really that interested.
Councillor Auld.
We could also explain to the Clearwater County Council the actual agreement that was in place, where it was the county was supposed to cease and desist there January 1st, not all activity. So there's definitely some errors in that letter to begin with. And if they're doing it just strictly as trying to get out of any liability, that's already in an agreement. So I'm not sure what they expect to get with that letter.
Did you have some, Councillor Phillips?
Yeah, I'm just echoing Councillor Fraser's comment. You know, this isn't a surprise. This has been discussed in council chambers here on numerous occasions. You know, the intentions of what we're doing, to have this letter come out on July 29th regarding something that's supposed to happen August 1st is not cool.
And I'll just say it again, bottom line is we need to listen to our residents and our ratepayers, and we need to make the best decisions based on the best information we have. And we do believe that moving back to the old transfer station, and I will highlight that it will not be a transfer station, it will still be the eco center, just improved, bigger, safer. That's what the intent is. So yeah, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I just want to follow on to Councillor Fraser's comments, this is nothing new. This has been knowing right from the outset that this was the plan. They were involved in the plan. At some point, I support a response that addresses all the concerns that are inaccurate in their response to us.
Any other comments? Okay, so I'm just looking for a motion, please, to respond to Clearwater County regarding the decisions that have been made. Councillor Auld?
I'll make that motion. One's back to the county. Said email.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're on to correspondence for information. Just looking for a motion, please, to accept 10.1 to 10.22. There's a lot of information in this agenda. As information, please. Councillor Phillips?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Moving on to 11.1, my report for the month of July. Just the one thing I want to point out to you was I took part in the RCA webinar regarding the on-farm composting program. And there are many more farms getting into what Stickland Farms is doing now. This is becoming a trend. And the message there was the farmers want to heal their land. That's what the one farmer said. They need this material for their fields. And more and more communities are getting on board with this type of program. They did say, though, however, there is one issue that some of them are it wasn't a huge issue, but they are finding plastic film is getting into the organics, and they do have a process to take that out. Some take it out at the start of the composting process and some take it out at the end. So that was really interesting. And I'm still looking forward to a visit to Stickland Farms to find out, because Stickland Farms was actually on this webinar. So it was a super interesting webinar, explained the importance of doing this. And the farms that were giving these presentations were saying it's now rural and urbans really need to work together to get this these organics out of the landfill and back onto the fields, which is where they belong. So it was really interesting. So just wanted to share that part of my report. So if there's no other questions, just a motion to accept my report, please. Councillor Fraser?
I will make that motion.
All in favor? Councillor, or opposed? Opposed, I should say? No. Okay, thanks. That's carried. Thanks. Okay, moving on to councillor reports. Does any?
I was distracted because mine's not there and I did send it, so it's an email issue.
Okay.
Yeah, so it did get sent, but it once it got stuck in cyberspace again.
Okay. Does anybody have any question for councillors' reports? No? Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the council reports as presented, and we'll look for Councillor Narang's report in cyberspace.
Yeah. It's the second time and it's from the same computer that I'm having that the issues happen, so I'm at least narrowed down where the issue is.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. And we will move on to number 12.1, the action list. Does anybody have any questions about the action list? No? Okay, just a motion to accept action list as presented. Councillor Brown, all in favor of that motion? That's carried. Does anybody have any administrative inquiries? Councillor Phillips?
I just have one. As everyone knows, there was a fire in Creekside a few days ago. And a lot of the people that were there were asking if we have a firm date when the second road will be opened up, as the main entrance to Creekside was completely blocked for about 3 blocks with emergency vehicles at 4 a.m. So just a question as to when we think that road will officially be open.
Mr. Shanks, would you mind coming to a microphone just so that for the people that are watching at home, we can have this on record? Is it still the power? Do we have any update on the power that's going in?
Yeah, is CN has completed their work, and for CN to go ahead, if we needed to, we can use a generator. It's Fortis that we're hung up on, and they gave us a date of October. Not the beginning, not the end, we don't know. There again are things that we can do to, open it up if we need to. In an emergency though, we can have it opened right away. If there was a big event like we had quite a few years back, no issues, we'd go move the blocks and it would be open. But just for the average use right now, yeah, we have to wait.
So we are currently working on a solution to get the crossing lights working. That's what
correct.
because that road could be used without streetlights, right?
No,
Can't be?
No, it has to have lighting. Talking with project coordinator, leaving a lighted into a dark and then back into a lighted again is the issue.
Okay.
So, but we could probably make it work with a couple power poles and a couple temporary lights.
Oh, okay.
And hook in power from the street lights that are existing. It just cost a little bit.
Because will this now, once that's open, it will alter school bus routes probably too, right? So
Yes.
this would be so fantastic to be able to get this sorted out.
Yes, sooner than later.
Yes, yeah.
Urban is all over it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I know Sean has been looking into it as well.
Perfect. Good. Councillor Fraser?
I was just going to ask if it cannot be lighted and opened to traffic, if it could be opened with the barriers as a pedestrian street until the lights could be put in, just so that people got used to that route. Because I think it would really change the downtown, especially when it's walking weather. So
They're just working on sidewalks this week, aren't they? Yeah. So should we just, I guess, wait and hopefully Urban will give us a report back soon?
Yes, that's all we're waiting on right now. As far as the pedestrians, they use it now anyways, and to post something letting them know it's foot traffic only opens up the contractor to liabilities as well. We want to keep that area as clear as we can during construction.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I was just, hoping we could do something to not have to wait till October for power just to get that road open. It was quite a scene on the night that fire happened. It was very chaotic. And kudos to the emergency response people that did what they did. They did a fantastic job there. I was there to watch the whole thing. So, but yeah, that just whatever we can do to get that road open sooner than later.
I believe Urban knows how anxious we are to get that open. So we wait. Yeah. And Rob, Mr. Shanks knows how. Yeah. Okay. Any other administrative inquiries? Councillor Narang?
I've just been noticing some conversation in the community about reporting, I guess, petty crime. And I'm wondering if we could have some information brought back or a report or something from Inspector Dinsdale.
Sergeant Dinsdale?
Sergeant Dinsdale, yes, thank you. The titles elude me. Just on the importance of doing that as a community and the impact of not having those crimes reported, such as even bike thefts and things like that. So if they have some information that we can share. Yeah.
Okay, I see Mr. Schrader's writing that down. Okay. Okay, any other admin inquiries? Okay, any notices of motion? No, seeing none. It is 2:00 and I'll call a 5-minute recess before we go into closed session.